Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be talking about something that's been making a lot of noise in the financial world, Ripple.
Yeah,
Now, a lot of our listeners probably have at least heard of it,
right.
but I think it's safe to say that there's still a lot of confusion about what it is exactly and why it suddenly got all these major financial institutions so excited.
It's true. There's definitely a lot of buzz
Yeah.
and a fair bit of misunderstanding.
Yeah, so let's try to break it all down. What
Yeah.
exactly is Ripple? I mean, is it a cryptocurrency? Is it a payment network?
Well, it's kind of both, actually. The term Ripple can actually refer to a couple of different things.
Okay.
So there's the company itself, Ripple, and then there's XRP, which is their digital asset.
Right, right.
And a lot of times people use these terms interchangeably, which just adds to the confusion.
Okay, so can you maybe just give us a quick breakdown? Like, what's the difference between Ripple, the company, and XRP, the digital asset?
Sure. So Ripple, the company, is basically focused on revolutionizing cross-border payments, especially for banks and financial institutions. They've developed this network called RippleNet,
RippleNet, right?
which allows these institutions to connect and send payments to each other directly and much more efficiently than through traditional systems.
Okay, so Ripple, the company, they made RippleNet, which is a network for payments between banks.
Exactly.
Got it. But where does XRP fit into all of this?
So XRP is the digital asset that's native to the Ripple network. It's designed to be used as a bridge currency to facilitate these transactions.
The bridge currency, okay.
So think about it this way. If a bank in the U.S. wants to send euros to a bank in France,
Okay.
they can use XRP to instantly convert dollars to euros on the RippleNet,
Oh,
bypassing all the traditional steps that usually involve pre-funded accounts in foreign currencies and all those intermediaries.
so it's like a shortcut.
It is. And this is where we get to ODL, or on-demand liquidity.
Yes, ODL.
Yeah.
I kept seeing that pop up in the research, but I wasn't totally clear on what it actually meant.
Right. So ODL is basically the system that utilizes XRP for these instant cross-border payments.
Okay, so now this is all starting to make a bit more sense. We have Ripple, the company, RippleNet, the network, and XRP, the bridge currency.
Right.
And banks can use all of this to send money internationally, quickly and cheaply.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so but that brings up another question that I had. I read that RippleNet can technically function even without using XRP.
That's right.
So if that's the case, why are banks so interested in the XRP token specifically?
That's a great question, and that's actually what makes this whole thing so interesting. While RippleNet can technically work with other assets, even just regular old currencies, XRP brings some really unique advantages to the table.
Okay, like what?
Well, first of all, it's insanely fast.
Yeah.
Like transactions settle in just a few seconds,
Right.
and the fees are incredibly low. Plus, it's specifically designed for this kind of high-volume financial exchange.
So it's purpose-built.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
why would you use a horse and buggy when you have a high-speed train? right?
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
So, okay, we've got a clearer picture of what Ripple is now. But is this all just hype, or are banks actually really using it?
Oh, it's definitely more than just hype. We're seeing real adoption from some seriously big players in the financial world. Like think Santander, Bank of America, SBI Holdings. These aren't small fish.
Well, so these are major institutions.
These are the giants.
Okay, so they're not just dipping their toes in the water.
Yeah.
They're diving right in.
Absolutely. And the numbers back it up. ODL transactions have actually skyrocketed, like over 300% just last year.
Wow.
So they're moving way beyond just pilot programs and actually integrating Ripple into their core business processes.
That's incredible. A 300% increase. That really shows how much confidence they have in this technology.
Right.
But hold on, didn't Ripple have that whole SEC lawsuit hanging over its head for a while? I mean, how did that impact all of this adoption?
Yeah, you're right. That lawsuit definitely created a lot of uncertainty, especially back in 2020 when it all started. The SEC was claiming that XRP was an unregistered security.
Right, right.
And that definitely caused some hesitation in the industry.
Makes sense.
But then in 2023, there was a major turning point. A federal judge ruled that XRP is not a security when it's sold to retail investors.
Oh, wow. So that was a pretty big win for Ripple.
Huge. It was a huge win for Ripple, and honestly, probably for the whole crypto industry. That ruling really provided some much-needed clarity in terms of regulation.
Yeah.
And really boosted confidence in XRP.
Okay, so that lawsuit, even though it wasn't completely resolved, it ended up sort of clearing the path for even greater adoption.
Exactly. It really solidified XRP's legitimacy and, potentially paved the way for it to become even more widely adopted.
So we've established what Ripple is, why banks are so interested in it, how they're actually using it, And we've even touched on that whole SEC lawsuit thing and how it's kind of accelerating adoption. But let's go a little deeper here. Why are banks, which are usually so slow and cautious about adopting new tech, suddenly rushing to embrace Ripple? Like, what's the big why behind all of this?
Oh, I think it really boils down to the need for speed, efficiency, and cost savings.
Oh.
The traditional financial systems, they're just so slow, expensive, and complex, especially when it comes to cross-border transactions.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about like sending an international wire transfer, it's a nightmare.
Right, it takes forever.
You're filling out all this paperwork and the fees are outrageous.
Exactly. And you're just kind of sitting there waiting for days for the money to actually clear. It's a pain.
It is.
And that's where Ripple comes in. It offers near-instant settlement, dramatically reduced fees, and a lot more transparency.
So it's like taking that old, clunky, frustrating process and streamlining it with a totally cutting-edge solution.
Precisely. And for these banks that are operating in a globalized economy, this efficiency translates to a massive competitive advantage.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not just about being cool and using the latest tech. It's about staying ahead of the curve and meeting the demands of this super fast-paced global financial world.
Absolutely. And that's why we're seeing this rush towards Ripple. It's not just a shift in technology. It's a strategic move by these institutions to adapt and to thrive in this rapidly changing landscape.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive deeper into the potential impact of all this on, well, you, the listener. How might Ripple and XRP actually affect the way you send and receive money internationally in the future? Stay tuned. All right, so we've talked about how banks are using Ripple to modernize their systems and get ahead in this global financial game. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about what all this means for you, the listener. How could Ripple and XRP change the way you send and receive money internationally in the future?
That's a great question. And I think it's important to think about this technology not just from the perspective of these big institutions,
Right.
but also from the perspective of the individual. Imagine a world where sending money overseas is as easy and as instant as sending a text message.
Wow.
No more waiting days for transfers to go through, no more crazy fees.
That sounds pretty amazing.
Right. This is the potential impact that Ripple's technology could have on your everyday life.
Especially for people who send money to family in other countries or buy things online from international sellers.
Absolutely.
It would be a game changer.
It would.
But let's be real here. There are a lot of other players in the crypto space.
Yeah.
How does Ripple stack up against the competition?
You're right. The crypto landscape is definitely crowded.
Yeah.
But Ripple has a major advantage here. It's not just a theoretical concept. It's already being used and implemented by these huge institutions.
So it's not just talk, it's action.
Exactly. And that real-world adoption speaks volumes about its credibility and its potential.
So it's like seeing those big trusted by logos on a website.
Exactly. It gives you that extra level of confidence.
I get it. So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about the trust and confidence that come with seeing these major players actually using it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can you give us some specific examples of how this is already benefiting consumers?
Sure. One great example is Santander's OnePay FX app.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
So they're using Ripple's technology to allow their customers to make international money transfers instantly
Wow.
and with very low fees. And this isn't just some small pilot program either.
Okay.
This is a real service that's available to millions of Santander customers.
That's awesome. So we're seeing Ripple actually making a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely.
Are there other examples beyond just these person-to-person transfers?
Definitely. Ripple's tech is being used in all sorts of ways. Take SBI Remit, for example. They're a leading remittance provider in Japan, and they've partnered with Ripple to make sending money to several countries in Southeast Asia faster, cheaper, and more transparent.
So it's impacting the remittance market too.
In a big way, especially for people who rely heavily on those services.
Wow, so we're seeing Ripple being used for personal remittances, business transactions, even by these giant financial institutions.
Yeah.
It seems like it really has the potential to touch so many different aspects of our financial lives.
It does.
But let's talk about the big question here. Could XRP really become like a global standard for payments?
Well, it's definitely a possibility. Predicting the future is always tricky.
Yeah.
But XRP does have some key characteristics that make it a strong contender.
Okay, I'm listening. What makes it stand out?
Well, first of all, it's super fast. Like we talked about before, transactions settle in seconds,
Right.
which is way faster than traditional methods that can take days, even weeks.
Yeah, no one wants to wait that long.
Right. especially in today's world where everyone expects things to happen instantly.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
speed is a big factor.
Huge. And then there's the cost effectiveness.
Okay.
XRP transactions have ridiculously low fees, especially compared to traditional money transfer services or even other cryptocurrencies.
Right. Those fees can really add up.
They can. And this is a big deal for people who send money abroad frequently or who rely on remittances.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got speed, we've got low cost, but what about scalability? Can the Ripple network really handle the volume of transactions if it were to become like a global standard?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. The Ripple network is actually designed for scalability from the ground up.
Okay.
It can handle a massive amount of transactions per second without slowing down or getting bogged down.
Wow, so it can really handle the global stage.
It can.
All right, so speed, cost, scalability, these are all really compelling arguments in favor of XRP's potential. But what about all the other cryptocurrencies out there? How does it compete in such a crowded market?
It's true, there are a lot of projects out there all vying for attention. But again, Ripple's real-world adoption by these major institutions gives it a huge leg up. It's not just some promising idea, it's proven technology that's actually being used successfully today.
So it's battle tested.
Exactly.
Okay, so that sets it apart from the crowd. Are there any other factors that contribute to its competitive edge?
Well, on top of its existing adoption, Ripple has also been really proactive about working with central banks and governments around the world to explore using XRP for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs.
Wow, CBDCs, that's a whole other deep dive right there.
It is. But this forward-thinking approach really positions XRP as a potential key player in the future of global finance.
Okay, so if XRP becomes integrated into that whole CBDC infrastructure, its impact could be huge.
Absolutely massive.
All right, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. As exciting as all this potential is, we need to be realistic too. What are some of the challenges that XRP might face on its path to becoming this global standard?
You're right, it's important to look at both sides of the coin. One of the biggest challenges is regulatory uncertainty. Even though that recent SEC ruling was a big win for Ripple, the whole regulatory landscape for crypto is still very much in flux.
Yeah, it seems like the rules are constantly changing.
Exactly, and different countries have different regulations, so it's a complex web to navigate.
So that's one hurdle.
Another challenge is the inherent volatility of the crypto market.
Oh, right, the ups and downs.
Crypto prices are known for their wild swings.
Yeah, for sure.
And that can create a lot of uncertainty for both investors and institutions. It can be a big deterrent, especially for those who are looking for stability and predictability in their financial dealings.
So volatility is a big one. Are there any other potential challenges we should be aware of?
Well, we can't forget about the fierce competition in the crypto space. There are tons of projects out there, all with their own unique features and advantages.
It's a crowded playing field.
It is. So XRP needs to constantly innovate and adapt to stay ahead of the curve.
It's an ongoing race.
Absolutely.
So we've got regulatory uncertainty, market volatility, and fierce competition. These are all big challenges. But despite all that, XRP's speed, its cost effectiveness, its scalability, and its growing adoption, they all make it a serious force to be reckoned with in the world of global finance.
No doubt about it.
But let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. What are the broader implications of all of this for the average person? Beyond just payments, how might Ripple's technology affect our daily lives?
That's a really interesting question. Let's step back for a minute and think about how we interact with the global economy right now. Sending money internationally is often a slow, expensive, and bureaucratic process.
It is.
And Ripple's technology has the potential to streamline all of that, to make it faster, cheaper, and more accessible for everyone. Imagine being able to send money to a friend or family member in another country instantly,
Wow.
with practically no fees. That kind of accessibility and efficiency could be transformative for individuals and businesses alike.
So it's not just about simplifying financial transactions. It's about creating a more efficient and transparent global economy as a whole.
Exactly.
Are there other ways that this technology could impact our lives down the road?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. Think about micropayments, for example. Ripple's technology could allow for seamless and incredibly cheap micropayments, which would open up all sorts of opportunities for online content creators,
Okay.
freelancers, small businesses. It could even change the way we tip service providers or donate to charities.
Wow. So many possibilities.
The potential applications are really only limited by our imagination.
This is all incredibly exciting. It seems like Ripple's technology could be a catalyst for so much positive change, not just in the financial world, but in all these different aspects of our lives.
I think so.
But let's bring it back down to the individual level. What can our listeners do to stay informed and prepare for all of these changes that are happening so quickly?
That's a great question. The most important thing is to stay educated. Read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts like this one to learn about different cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
about blockchain technology, and how all of this might impact the financial world and beyond. Knowledge is power, especially in a field that's changing as rapidly as this one.
So staying informed is key. What other advice would you give to people who want to explore this space further?
Don't be afraid to engage with the crypto community. Join online forums, attend webinars, participate in discussions. You'll learn a lot from experts and enthusiasts alike.
It's all about connecting with other people who are passionate about this stuff.
Exactly.
Any other tips for navigating this dynamic and sometimes confusing landscape?
Always. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. The crypto market can be volatile and risky.
Yeah,
It's essential to understand both the potential rewards and the risks before you jump in.
right. Don't just blindly follow the hype.
Exactly. Take the time to thoroughly research different projects, understand their underlying technology, and assess their potential for growth and sustainability.
So do your own research, understand the risks, and make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Solid advice. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the technical side of Ripple and XRP. We've talked about their potential impact on the future of finance and beyond, but there's one final thought I want to leave our listeners with.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
So we've talked a lot about how big institutions are adopting Ripple and how it can benefit banks and businesses, but what about you, the individual listener? How can you use this technology to your advantage?
That's a great question.
We've discussed the potential for faster, cheaper, and more accessible international payments. But beyond that, how might Ripple's technology empower you in ways you haven't even thought of yet?
That's a powerful question to consider.
We've been focusing on the big picture stuff, but the real potential is in how individuals can harness this technology to achieve their own personal financial goals and dreams.
It's about thinking outside the box and exploring all the possibilities. How could Ripple help you save money, streamline your business, achieve your financial goals? These are questions worth thinking about.
It's not just about understanding the technology itself.
Right.
It's about figuring out how it can be applied to your unique situation.
We're on the cusp of a whole new era of finance, and the people who are willing to embrace innovation and explore these new possibilities, they're the ones who are going to thrive.
Couldn't agree more.
And with that thought-provoking question, we're going to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into Ripple. Stay tuned for the final part, where we'll recap all the key takeaways and offer some closing thoughts. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Ripple. It's been a fascinating journey, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, a lot to unpack.
Definitely. So before we wrap up, let's take a minute to revisit some of the key things we've talked about.
Sounds good.
So we started by, well, trying to figure out what Ripple actually is. Is it a cryptocurrency? Is it a company? Is it a payment network? Right, it can be a bit confusing with all those terms flying around.
Exactly. But we learned that Ripple is a company that's focused on changing the game for global payments, specifically with their RippleNet network and their digital asset, XRP.
Exactly. And we talked about how this technology is actually being embraced by these big traditional banks that are usually pretty slow to adopt anything new.
Right. It's all about that need for speed and efficiency in today's world.
Yeah.
Saving money doesn't hurt either.
Absolutely. Those are major driving forces. And we can't forget about that whole SEC lawsuit saga.
Oh, yeah, that was a roller coaster.
It was. But ultimately, that ruling ended up being a huge win for Ripple and, kind of paved the way for even greater adoption.
Definitely. And then we shifted gears a bit to focus on you, the listener, and how all of this could actually affect your life, especially when it comes to sending and receiving money internationally.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's what matters most, how this tech can actually make a difference in people's lives.
Exactly. We even got into some real-world examples of how it's already being used, like Santander's OnePayFX app and SBI Remit's partnership with Ripple.
It's not just some futuristic concept anymore, it's a reality.
Exactly. And then, of course, we had to tackle the big question. Could XRP actually become the global standard for payments?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we look at its speed, its low cost, its ability to scale. there's a lot of potential there.
There is, but we also have to be realistic about the challenges, things like regulatory uncertainty, market volatility, all that competition in the crypto world.
Right, there are definitely hurdles to overcome. But even with all that, it's pretty clear that Ripple's technology has the power to be a real game changer.
I completely agree. It's not just about disrupting the financial industry, it's about creating a better system for everyone.
A more efficient system, a more transparent system, one that benefits everyone, not just the big players.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here? What can our listeners do to keep up with all this and maybe even be a part of it?
Well, we've said it before, and we'll say it again. Knowledge is power. Stay curious. Keep learning about crypto, about blockchain, about how all of this is changing the financial world.
And don't be afraid to get involved. Join the conversation online. Connect with others who are passionate about this stuff. Share what you're learning.
Exactly. Because this is just the beginning, folks. The future of finance is being written right now, and technologies like Ripple are playing a big part in that story.
It's an exciting time to be paying attention.
It is. So stay informed, explore the possibilities. Who knows? Maybe you'll even find a way to use this technology to your advantage, to achieve your own financial goals.
The potential is there for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Ripple. We hope you enjoyed the journey and that you learned something new along the way.
Thanks for having me.
And as always, keep those brains engaged, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the topics that matter to you. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.